Hey everybody, welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture. I'm Dad and this is my den. Today I want to talk about a relatively new comic book series. It actually has its roots a few years into the past, but it's now being produced by Alterna Comics. It's a great company. A lot of great books, but in today's case, we're going to be talking about Wolf and Batsy. So we're going to go through these issues a little bit. There will be some spoilers here. The creator, Bryan Baugh, has done a few videos himself talking about these. So to some degree, the spoilers are out there as it is. And so, easier to talk about these without having to just, keep it all extremely vague. So with no further ado, let's snap into the first 6 issues of Wolf and Batsy by Bryan Baugh, published by Alterna Comics. Wolf and Batsy. Now, there are 6 issues out at present. A 7th one is coming out very soon. It was that 7th one that convinced me to go ahead and delve into this series. Because it involves a maniac in a gorilla suit. And my family knows that if there's an old movie or an old TV show that involves a guy in a gorilla suit, I'm in. I don't know why. I just am. I also discovered that Alterna is producing floppies on newsprint style paper. And I couldn't resist. Now, Bryan Baugh, I was aware of. I'd been following him on DeviantArt for quite a while. So I was vaguely aware of Wolf and Batsy, but I wasn't collecting, comics really at the time. And I was interested and almost, and then I just wouldn't quite get there. So, hey, I finally delved in. I got the latest bundle coming from Alterna, and I said, well, you know what? Let's get the back issues. The prices at Alterna are extremely reasonable. So I highly suggest you go check these out. They have a lot of different titles, different genres. They're worth taking a look at. So this first issue of Wolf and Batsy, you'll notice November 2021 is that cover date. I'm going to go ahead and move these over. This is my experiment at a better way to show off comics. But you will also maybe notice by Bryan Baugh, 1999-2000. So this is a series that he has had ongoing for a long time. And he apparently tried a few different publishing venues and eventually, fell in with Alterna Comics, and thank goodness. So yeah, these are old stories we're reading, but they're also new. So Wolf and Batsy. So who are Wolf and Batsy? Well, you can see from here, and this may shock you. That's Wolf and that's Batsy. It's a vampire woman and it's a werewolf guy. And they are 2 monsters, at least when we first meet them, that are sort of, well, I won't necessarily say on the run, but they're wandering. They're looking for a place they can call home. And they're not having too much success. One thing I really like about these 2 characters is it's not a matter of, well, they look like monsters, but they're really misunderstood. They really have hearts of gold. Not entirely. They're not evil exactly, but they are monsters. Wolf, when he gets hungry enough, he'll go after people. Batsy too. They're almost sort of like members of another tribe. They're part of the monster tribe, and they look out for one another. And sometimes that means human beings get in the way. So I like it. I like that characterization. I think it's interesting. It's not just the old tropes. I enjoy his art style. Like I said, I've been following him on DeviantArt for a long time. It's I don't know. There's a cartooning aspect to it. There's a little bit of I think Archie Goodwin who kind of did that famous Frankenstein poster from way back. There's like a little Ed Big Daddy Roth in there. There's influences, and yet it's his own, but it's got a certain whimsical aspect to it, which if you're like me, I'm not actually a big fan of gore, and there's a fair amount of gore in Wolf and Batsy, and it doesn't really bother me. And that's not to say it's not like it's. I mean, it's gory, but I think the aspect of it not being, I don't know, drawn for, I don't know, it's not presented in a mean, hateful way. If you go watch Bryan's videos, you'll see this is a very cool dude. There's a joy to it all. So as we meet Wolf and Batsy here, Wolf was out hunting, and a shepherdess got in the way. And there's definitely a good girl art aspect to Bryan's work as well. She got in his way. Batsy ultimately intercedes, because once the hunger's on him, once he's mad with the hunger Ted, Wolfie can't really be reasoned with that well. And so she kind of gets in the way, and stops him from killing this woman. At least partly because, if that happens, it's going to be a lot harder for them to, fit into town. So she kind of hypnotizes her. You see the finger on the forehead there, and she kind of falls asleep. And they kind of hope that's all. So they head on into this town, get a hotel room in a kind of a dingy hotel, kind of a dive. It gets a little bit spicy, but not downright dirty or anything. Batsy needs to sleep. She does so in a bathtub full of water, which is interesting. Kind of makes you wonder what's up with that. Wolf decides he's going to go out and see the town a little bit, and in so doing, visits a burlesque club, and that's when the shepherdess that we saw earlier appears. There's monsters. They're on the loose. And so, this ain't going to be good. The town turns on Wolf, and he has to try to escape. He makes his way out into the hills, where he begins to change. So, he's trying to get these villagers, these townsfolk, out of danger, and they're not having it. They want blood. And that's how we meet these two characters. You also get a takeoff of the old comic book ads with all sorts of wonderful gross items, and a few real ones there. I think I pointed that out when I was looking at those, the old Flash comic. It may not have been the Flash comic. It was one of those, the fake beard mustache set that, it's so fantastic. I want to order one. And there we go. A takeoff on the old Charles Atlas. So I think you get an idea for the style that we're going with here. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it's a good first issue. It does a great job of introducing you to the characters. getting you an idea of how they tick and what they're all about. And the first 2 issues kind of focus on their search for this new home in this town. You can kind of tell from this cover that the encounter with the townspeople doesn't go well, especially for the townspeople. And we get a little weird magic from Batsy, pulling out her eye and sending it to find Wolf. Very cool. The next 4 comics are another arc. And I'm not going to go through each one page by page or anything, because I want people to go buy these things and actually read them. But the next one, they're still looking for a home. They're still wandering. You know, you got a little, maybe a little bit of the old 70s Incredible Hulk flavor in there. The outsiders searching for a place to call home. In this one, they find a cemetery, and the cemetery is occupied by a number of zombies of living dead. And the zombies are beset upon by a evil, mad scientist. And we'll flip a little bit in through here. So here you go. Here's the guy who's, asking him, "Hey, what do you think you're doing? This is our graveyard." And she's apologetic. And so above this graveyard is this old spooky house. And so you could see by the art of the skeletons, right? They're not going for Bryan's not going for like this, perfect anatomical skeleton. It's got that, like I say, it's cartoonish. And I mean that in the absolute best way, because cartoonish should always be meant in the best possible way. Cartooning is should be a revered art form, at least in the United States for sure. And he does it very well, especially with these zombies. So they kind of find out, what's going on here, because at some point Professor von Zagzog makes his appearance, and this is the mad scientist, and he's robbing these graves and taking these people, I guess we can call them people at this point, away for experiments. And, well, they don't really do anything about it. They don't like him, and they're afraid of him, but they don't do anything about it. And now this is where you see Batsy has a bit of a, I don't know, maybe not a moral code exactly, but an honor code. She doesn't like this. She wants to stick up for the zombies. And so this is her sort of trying to rally the troops. And most of them are not up for rallying. But one does step forward. Right here. This is Bill Bucklebones. Bill Bucklebones steps forward to help. And so they approach the house. And Batsy takes on a disguise of a mild-mannered, sexy schoolgirl outfit, like you would. And she gets entry into the home by this rather odd-looking gentleman. Professor Zagzog's not going to be too happy. But there's also somebody else there, Blonda Speckles, who is, I think there's a little bit of Daphne in there, maybe. I don't know, just the hair. And one thing we find out about her is she is every bit really as amoral as any of these monsters are. She's in it for the money, folks. And Professor Zagzog makes his appearance. He's a real good-looking guy, as you can see. And she goes, well, he's not as dreamy as I imagined, but he's still rich. And this opens up this 4-issue arc with Professor Zagzog. And it's a good arc. I liked it. There we got an ad for the Steins, which I think think funding right now on Fund My Comic. Is it .com? Go check that out. Yeah, so Wulf and Batsy number 3 opens up the Zagzag Chronicles here. Yeah, they're really put to the test here to deal with this evil man. Here's issue 4, Stairway to Hell, where they discover some of what he's up to. And in Sewer Skewer, they go head to head with the evil doctor. And in number 6, man, this is some straight up D&D stuff. Oh, look at that. Nice. They fight a horrible monster down in the sewers. Do they survive? Do they die? Well, you'll never know unless you go out and get some copies of Wulf and Batsy. Again, you can find Wulf and Batsy on Alterna Comics. You can go to their website. I'll put a link to it in the description. You can also, like I said, you can find some of Bryan's artwork on DeviantArt. It is it's excellent. It's a great style. I really enjoy it. Lots of good stuff. You know, the monsters, the pinups. It's, you know, gory, but not in such a way as to like turn your stomach. At least not for me. And like I said, I'm a well-known wimp when it comes to that kind of stuff. A lot of character. I like these characters, and I am genuinely excited to see where this goes. Very excited for issue number 7. Like I said, that's been funded, and I believe it's coming out pretty soon here. I think it was a winter campaign, so I don't know if it was a winter campaign because it was launched in winter of 2022, or if it's because it's coming out in winter. I don't know. Go look. Go to the Alterna site. Look around. Enjoy. I will be reviewing at some point here in the future some comics done by a fellow who I believe is a friend of Bryan Baugh's, Josh Howard. His characters are T-Bird and Throttle. I have those comics. I have not read them yet, but they'll be on their way for one of these videos before too long. Again, real excited about these. I'm real excited again about comic books. There's a lot of good stuff coming out right now that are really worth watching or reading. So that will do it, I believe, for this episode of Dad's Den of Pop Culture, highlighting Wulf and Batsy by Bryan Baugh. Again, published by Alterna Comics. Go check them out. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you'd give it the thumbs up there. Hit the like button. Won't cost you a thing. If you enjoy the videos I'm doing, you could maybe think about subscribing. I'd love to get those subscriber numbers up. And hey, in the meantime, I hope you all have a good day, and go out there and be kind to one another. Let's have some fun, folks. I will see you again soon in Dad's Den of Pop Culture.